Hi, it's Joe Stedman again, and I want to talk about another game. This is Fast Action Battles, Battle of the Bulge. This is a 2008 GMT game by Rick Young. It's not new. It's been out for a while, but I just got it, so I thought I'd go over it. I like Bulge games a lot. I think I have about all of the ones that are out. Something about the Battle of Bulge that's fun to play. The fact that the Germans get to attack and the Americans defend, and then usually halfway through the game or so, the Americans go on the attack and the Germans defend. So it gives you a chance to play both sides, and there's just something interesting about that battle for a lot of guys, and I'm one of them. All right, let's talk about what comes in the game. Here's the components that come with the game, all laid out so you can see them. So we have the box. This is the cover. Interesting. It's got a American tank on the front there. It's actually a tank destroyer. Now this is the it says Fast Action Battle Game. So supposedly there's going to be more games that come out in the future that use the same core set of rules, kind of like the OCS games or the SCS games. So let's see what comes in the box. This is a block game, meaning that your pieces come on little blocks, and you can they simulate the fog of war. I'll zoom in later on those. Here's an example of how you take casualties. So here's the 101st Airborne. They start off at 4 strength. They take a hit, they go to 3, to 2, to 1, and until the next hit they be eliminated. And here's the armor, same thing. Here's a good picture I found on Board Game Geek of the size of the blocks in relation to other games. The first is from Hammer of the Scots. You can see how huge that English knight thing is. And then I think that's Rommel in the Desert. See, the size of that's even a little bit bigger, and then you have that little small one in the end. That's our game. So you can see how small these blocks are compared to other games, but it doesn't hurt at all. I like it. Not only does it come with blocks, but this game also uses counters. All right, because you are going to have all kinds of other things in this game that aren't typical, such as assets and units and special actions. Now, the guy who designed this game, Rick Young, he also did Europe Engulfed, and if you've played Europe Engulfed, you're going to see a lot of similarities in the way this plays, especially with those special actions. It came with a whole extra sheet of stickers. Here's the sticker sheet, but it came with an extra set of stickers, which is kind of nice, just in case you mess up or you want to replace them in the future. It came with 4 10-sided die. I actually am going to supplement my game with more dice to make the game play a little faster. And let's see here. Comes with the rules. Now, there's 2 sets of rules. There's the Fast Action Battles rules, which is for the series of games, which will be coming out in the future. The basic gameplay, how things work, the basic sequence of play. It's a game where I do all my stuff, and then your turn, you do your stuff, and you follow the same sequence of play. It's got a breakdown of right there, the sequence of play. And then there's the series rules, the Bulge, Battle of the Bulge, and this is all the specific rules for Battle of the Bulge. And it's got it's got designer's notes in here, player's notes for each team, a very nice example of play that breaks everything down. Now, while I'm on the rules, let me explain. This is not what I would call an introduction war game. It's not overly complicated. It's kind of in the middle somewhere, maybe in between Storm over Stalingrad and ASL, somewhere in between there. It is not intuitive to learn, meaning there's some interesting aspects to this game which make it a little more complicated, because it's not a typical look up your combat results table, see what happens, roll dice, and that's it. There's lots of exceptions and exceptions to exceptions, and so you're going to be referencing the rule book quite a bit. And there's lots of options which give the game a lot of color and flavor, which I like. And there's a random element because there's a chit draw in the game, and I'll go through that later. So I would rank this as an intermediate operational level game for the Battle of the Bulge. All right, what else is in the box? All right, we got the map. Here's the actual map that the game is played on. You can see this map has got a lot going on. You have the German resource area, the Allied resource area. You got a game turn track, informational track, eliminated units track, and then on the map itself, you're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. You got rivers and roads and different areas divided up. You got entry locations for units. You've got the names of cities, roads, army boundaries for the 5th and 7th Army on there. You got the there's just a lot going on in the map, but I do think it's nice. I think it works out well. I like the way it looks. Very big. It's heavy cardboard. It's the cardboard 8-piece fold-out map. There is. Oh, this is neat. This is the Nuts introduction scenario. Nuts is that famous expression the 101st Airborne Commander told the Germans when he was asked to surrender. All right, here we have the Nuts introduction scenario map. This is the map that you would actually play on. It only takes about a half an hour to 45 minutes to play that scenario. Help you to learn the game. There's a getting started card that's got a cheat sheet of how to get started on one side, game pieces, what everything means, playing your first game. Once you've played the game a few times, you won't need this. And it's got the extended sequence of play, and combat, events, summary table. There's a lot of little, I hate to use the word fiddly, because I like fiddly, but a lot of people would say the game is pretty fiddly, because there is a lot of little things in this game that you have to try to remember. All right, basic gameplay. The German player takes his turn, the American player takes his turn. You'll go back and forth. There's a large sequence of play that you follow through. You basically move your blocks, you attack, you can mark blocks for reserve, which is a neat option because you can use those reserve blocks to move on your opponent's turn or to go through breakthroughs maybe you make in a line or to fill a hole in your own line. That brings in an interesting aspect of the game. And then the victory conditions are pretty nice. I like the victory conditions because they're not too gamey. It isn't where you try to rush all your pieces to one spot and you win. No, you have to hold certain victory conditions, and at the end of the game, you typically will see the Germans trying to defend those positions to the very end. The combat system is pretty unique to where it's a block game, but it's not like a Columbia game where you line up all the blocks and you fight it out. Or it's not like a combat results table where you figure out the total and then you roll and then there's this big, huge, devastating effect. As the attacker, you can call off your attack anytime you want after you take your first point of damage. So let's say that it's not going well, you can call off your attack. Or if you're the defender, you can retreat away at any time so to not take too many hits. The most interesting aspect of this game, in my opinion, is the asset cup. You're going to have a cup on the board that you're going to put little chits into, and those chits are going to represent things such as artillery and other combat assets, random events, and things like this that will come into play. And at the beginning of the game, for instance, German players can have a lot of artillery and other combat assets in there, and that kind of symbolizes the higher command trying to help out their frontline units. And so every turn you're going to get to draw a certain number of those chits and add those to your forces, and then and towards the end of the turn, you add new things to that cup, hoping to draw those for future turns. And it adds a bit of randomness and a bit of planning that you're going to have to do throughout the game that you don't typically see in operational games of this level, which the chits are nice because they don't add a whole bunch of little rules to where you have to do everything in order. What happens is you pull the chit, you grab the rules, you look up the rule and see what happens. For example, they got the grief teams, the German commandos that were dressed up in American uniforms. If you pull one of those things, you look up the rule and how they work, you stick it on an American crossroads or a bridge or whatever, and you see what happens. So the game lasts, I would say, 4 to 5 hours, maybe less if you really know the rules, but a lot more if you're learning. I like this designer. I like the block game system that gives you a bit of fog of war, and the assets and the pull from the pulling the chits from the cup adds a whole new flavor to the game that helps you really feel like you're the overall commander trying to give your frontline units more assets to use during the battle. Until next time, I would give this game thumbs up recommendation. Pick it up, especially if you're a Bulge gamer or a block gamer. If you're a new war gamer, maybe not, but maybe. I don't know. Thanks.